Welcome to the Summer One 9-week lifestyle challenge. So this is going to be a little different than what we've done in the past because it's going to de-emphasize a lot of the workouts that we're doing as far as recording them throughout the month in the challenge itself and moving this more to a lifestyle. So things you're doing outside or maybe things that you're not necessarily recording in the gym, but you should be thinking about. So let's get started here and go over it. First thing, you need to sign up for it. If you haven't done so already, you'll see a little registration button. And then when you jump in here, you'll have the outline explaining what we're doing. So it's a 60-day challenge, it's 9 weeks. And we want to go over a couple of the objectives. So performance-wise, you want to increase your VO2 max. Those of you who did Run Club last cycle know that we did our 12-minute run. This cycle, we're doing a 2,000-meter row, and this is going to be on Tuesday, May 2nd. There's the opportunity to do it again. However, this is going to be what we use to measure VO2 max. From a performance standpoint, you're recording that VO2 max, not necessarily your 2,000-meter time. That's going to be in the daily workouts. Second part, body composition. So body composition, we are focusing on one thing and one thing only, and that is protein consumption. And what we'll do is always we want to have our leading measure. So how are we going to create the habit? How are we going to do something either daily, weekly? And that's going to be 0.7 to 1 gram 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of target body weight. So I know that sounds like a lot here, but have a look at this, read it over. Essentially, it's going to be a lot more than what a lot of you have been used to. It's well within safe standards. However, if we want to optimize muscle, okay, and again, it's not about being a bodybuilder here, although if you want to gain more muscle, then go higher on this spectrum. In fact, you could go to 1.2, but get here, it's a lot. I'm gonna go through a couple scenarios in a second, but a minimum of 0.7. And one of the reasons why we're doing this is to focus on just one element of your nutrition that will have the biggest impact. And what I've personally found doing this over the past year has been once you target protein and hit those numbers, everything else falls in place a lot easier. So you just can't overeat the same way with high protein as you can without high protein, meaning that you can have a lot more carbohydrates, higher caloric value during the day without high amounts of protein. And the primary reason for that is it keeps you satiated, it keeps you full. But aside from that, we want to measure your progress. The lagging measure, which is going to be body composition, there's going to be 2 ways to do that, and I'll demo those as well. You don't need to measure body composition if you don't want to. You could just do this based on how you feel, which is entirely fine too. If you know me, you know I'm very quantitative, so I do want to measure this. And the third part to this, and you're going to complete 27 workouts in 9 weeks. So that's three a week. You don't necessarily have to do these all at Fuel. They just have to be logged in WODUP. And part of this is going to be what I refer to as virtuosity, or doing the common uncommonly well. And I'll expand on that a little bit more too. So this is going to be more about you understanding what you're doing in each of your workouts and how you're performing each of the movements. So we'll go through each one here just to get started. So for instance, describe performance. You'll follow this calculator, which is going to give you a estimated VO2 max. And then what I like is this is a based on an old textbook that I used to read, but give you an idea. So if you are in the poor category, don't worry, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you got a lot of room for improvement. And what I like about VO2 max from a cardiovascular fitness standpoint is that this is a very good longevity indicator. The higher it is, now it doesn't mean that you have to be an elite athletes. So let's just say men in the 29, women in the 29, say greater than 53, greater than 50. There have been recorded VO2 maxes in the 90s before. Someone who has a VO2 max in the 90s doesn't necessarily live longer than someone who has a VO2 max at 53, but someone who has a VO2 max at 53 will live longer and live better, more importantly, health span, than someone who has a 44 or 34 respectively. So VO2 max is a good indicator, even if it's an estimate, good indicator to help not only improve your performance, but to think about this from a longevity perspective. The second part, which is going to be body composition, recording your baseline. And this is going to be done one of 2 ways. So if you qualify in the last challenge's 2020 club, that's 10 to 20 workouts at Fuel and log 20 workouts. and you've opted in to do the body composition using an ultrasound device, I'm going to do that personally. And then at the end of 9 weeks, we are going to do a follow-up. And if you aren't doing it, and there's still, for those of you that are doing this, component's important too, is that you're going to do it with a tape and scale, and just a couple simple measurements, and I'll show you those coming up. But we want to, even if you're doing the body composition with me, you still want to have a scale. And the reason why is that having a scale, I can unpack a lot of this here, but I'll keep it short and sweet, is the average, your weekly average weight is more important than the single value of a daily weight. So if you weigh yourself at 8 a.m. today and it says X, right? If you weigh yourself tonight, it's going to say Y. And if you weigh yourself tomorrow, it's going to say Z. And if you continually focus in on a single value, it's just not going to be relevant. It's not going to be accurate. It's not going to be helpful. So what we want to look at, and I've got a Garmin scale, so I'll just show this, but this actually shows, you can do less math. If you hook it up to Apple Health, it'll give you your averages. You want a minimum of 3 weights per week, okay, within a 7-day period of time. And so the 25th, the 27th, 28th, now I try to get these all similar, so it's at night before I go to bed. It keeps it consistent. It doesn't matter what time of day you do it, as long as it's consistent, because what we're looking at is the trend. Okay, what we're looking at is the trend. So in here, if my average weight, so I've got, let's say 214, 214, 215, let's just say it's 214.25. Okay, that would be what I record. And I'm gonna show you how to do that. So I took the average of these 3, not the lowest, not the highest, I took the average. So what I do from there is I would put in, if we go into our timeline, see this plus, it's the same idea from your phone. I would go into weigh-in and measurements. Okay, now I put in log weight. I said I am at 214.25. Okay, and this is viewable by yourself only. No one else can see this. And if I had a body fat measurement, I'd put it in as well. So I might say initial week. Now, if you only have one measurement starting beginning of this challenge, you can put that in as well. But I'm going to put that in here, and then it'll begin to log. Now, for the same thing goes for I can edit this as well. So when I do the body fat, I can put it in here too. Second to this, if you're not using if I'm not doing the ultrasound with you, you can still do a couple waist measurements using a tape. And I've got a couple links in the challenge here that if you scroll down, you'll see a scale or a tape. They're both Amazon-based ones. For tapes, tape measure and a scale. What I want you to do is have this at home to do these measurements. We're not going to be doing the weight measurements at fuel because, as I said, the average is more important, and the time that we do an evaluation, it's going to be a single value. It probably won't be a consistent time. However, I will, if you're doing it with me, I will do the measurements here. If you're doing it at home, I recommend doing the waist, okay, chest, actually these are all pretty good. Waist, hip, chest, arm, and thigh. It's just one arm, one thigh, okay, and put these in. So chest would be around the right, like the widest point underneath your arms. All right. Waist is going to be navel. Hip is going to be the widest point around your hips, around your glutes. Arm is going to be flexed, the widest point around your bicep, and thigh is going to be standing straight, widest point around the leg, above the knee, below the hips. So once I've got that in there, I can add it in. Now, there are the options, and this is not part of the challenge. The progress photos can be used for a number of things. So as you can see, I can put in my Tinder profile picture in here, but then I can also put in, there's a couple other things that I will add for those of you that are doing ultrasounds, which are the scan photos that I will put in here as well. Don't need to put photos of yourself, but you can upload screenshots and anything relevant for this too. And nutrition. So let's go into the next part. So from a nutrition standpoint, you are also going to be recording protein as we described. So protein, moving on to this part, 0.1 to 1 gram per pound target body weight. So whatever that target is, your target, it might be what you might not have a target right now. So use your current body weight. Whatever it is, the target is used to create the protein requirements for the day. So for instance, you were doing this weekly. Now, because getting into the habit of recording protein takes a little bit of time, we want to build it up weekly, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But as an example, my target's 220. Therefore, I'm going to aim for 154 to 220 grams of protein per day, or 1,078 to 1,540 grams per week. Okay, when I complete that the week, I'd hit save and it gets added in. This is important. You need to, if you want a follow-up, a complimentary follow-up ultrasound, you need to record all of the workouts, and these will close. I'm going to change to the next day here, but it will be done. You have to do it by Sunday. If you don't, you've missed the habit, you've missed the purpose of this lifestyle challenge, which is accountability. So a couple things. One, I'm not your nutritionist, so don't send me messages about what type of protein to eat. Google is your ally here. Actually, ChatGPT is pretty good as well, especially if you put in your dietary restrictions and what you like. Okay, you are going to find this out yourself, and this is part of this challenge. Is you need to teach yourself these things. What type of proteins are more protein dense, meaning higher value of protein to caloric value. So something that has, let's say, 100 calories, which is 70 calories come from protein, is 70% protein, right? So that's pretty dense protein wise. The higher that protein density, more satiated you'll be, fewer calories you'll eat. But again, caloric goal is not a target. It's not part of this month's challenge. You can still do that, which is going to be the next part. So 2 options to record these. I prefer something called Cronometer. Both of them are free, but there's also MyFitnessPal, which is a little bit more, I'd say this is ubiquitous. More people use MyFitnessPal. They both do the same thing. They both have a great database of foods to choose from, and they both have I can't do this for my screen share, but the ability to barcode scan an item, and then it'll put up the relevant piece of information. I found Cronometer has a better and more accurate database and easier to record the total amount. So one of the things that I do is I have a scale, a food scale, and I would put, let's say, a tub of peanut butter on top of that food scale. I take the lid off, I turn the scale on, I take a scoop of the peanut butter out, I put that in Cronometer, I log the amount, and then it's in. So today, for instance, I've put in what this will link to your health as well, Apple Health or Google Health. So if you've got stuff, it's not critical, but it will help if you have targets. I'm not going to go into that because it's not part of the challenge. So for instance, today, my protein, and I've set this up in my settings, I've got 216 grams of protein as my target for today. I've consumed 37.8 already, okay? So let's just say I go through the full day, I hit my target, got it, great. What we are doing on the back end is logging this. So did you record it for 7 days? Record weekly protein intake. Did you hit that target? Then you would say yes or no. But what we want is, so we're going to come back to, again, this plus, right? This plus button here. This is adding personal workouts, but you'll add nutrition. So from nutrition today, let's just say I hit it. So I've set up my target at 215. It's a little bit off from here, but let's just say I hit 215 grams. Okay, I have done it. I've logged my nutrition. It's in here now. You can do the other ones if you want, but it's not part of the challenge. Again, we're focusing on protein. I found that calorie counting, especially those getting into it for the first time, it can be tedious. You might be motivated to do it for a week or two, and then it falls off a cliff. What you will find is after a week or two of logging, you'll see your trends, your habits. You probably eat similar things each day, and you can add in the ones you don't. You can create custom foods too. So I subscribe to a meal service called Power Kitchen, which are not in here. So I would have to create that food. And in the custom foods, and both same thing, you've got it in MyFitnessPal and in Cronometer. See, I have Power Kitchen here. I can create a custom food, add that in. Everything I do from my phone, this is just, I just want to demo this here, and I can track it from there. All right, so that's the protein portion. The final portion, which is really me staring into your soul, and by me, I mean also Wilson, Ashley, and Randy when he gets back from pat leave. You know, he might be staring through you and thinking about getting more sleep, but in any event, the last one has more to do with quality of movement. So 3 things you want to think about, and you're only lying to yourself if you don't do this properly. First one, you selected a movement and weight applicable to your current ability and current condition. So if you're injured, If you are a level 2, don't do the level 3 movements. You've selected a movement that is for you. And if you're unsure of this, ask the trainer. Because if you can't answer yes to this, then you have missed the point of this challenge. And that is about being engaged with your workout. Second one is you achieve the movement standard, I've updated this since, and quality on all reps, meaning that you are going through the full range of motion and you are doing it with adequate movement quality. And why I say adequate, no one's perfect. Towards the end of a set, your reps might not look as good as they did at the beginning, so it's just got to be good enough. And that's important from longevity, because when you are always performing reps at a movement that is within your ability, you're not going to get hurt. Okay, you're not going to get hurt. You're going to continually improve your fitness. Most important part of improving is consistency. If you get hurt, you can't do the workouts, you lose that consistency. Okay, and the third one, just jumping on the back end here because it hasn't updated yet on the front end, is you went to technical exhaustion on final sets where demanded. I say demanded because this is important. Your fitness improves at your final set, your final rep. Everything up to that point is building up. So we're doing build-up sets to make sure you're warming up safely and you're getting ready to withstand the load. You're grooving good movement patterns. But on the final set, you've got to know when you've only got one rep left in the tank and go all the way there. That is the key to improving your fitness when lifting weights. I mean, this is going to be applied to just about everything we do in our benchmarks, cardiovascular training. However, this is the one where you can measure it each and every day you do a workout at Fuel. So what you would do on this is when you have gone through all three of these and you record this as being complete. Okay, so at the end of the week 1, you selected the movements, you achieved the movement integrity, which is the standard in quality, and you performed all the movements, adequate movement, or you went to technical exhaustion on the final set. This is either a yes or a no. You're figuring this out because every time we want to look into your eyes and say, are you doing this properly? Do you know if you're doing the right movement? Are you going to complete exhaustion? The answer's got to be yes if you check this off. If you're not sure, don't check it off because we want you to think about this for 9 weeks. So that brings us to the conclusion of what is expected of you for this month. We will do a follow-up VO2 max. We will do a follow-up baseline for your ultrasound for those of you that are doing it. And if you complete all of the workouts, this month, even if you said no, okay, in Virtuosity, and even if you didn't meet your protein requirements, as long as you log it, all right, then you're going to qualify for a complimentary body composition. So for those of you who have not, who didn't qualify last month. Alternatively, we are going to start selling these. They're $40 and it takes about 10-15 minutes to go through a scan. We'll book those. You can book those through the apps, through the Fuel app to book classes, but instead of going into classes, you book through appointments. That is our walkthrough, fairly detailed walkthrough of what we're doing this month, what the objectives are with the lifestyle, the 9-week lifestyle challenge. And if there's any questions, let me know. Let's get at it.